Hey everyone, and welcome to Mrs. Ross Does Math. Today's lesson is for lesson 14. Our topic today is exponents. This is the second to last lesson of our unit, so we are getting close to the finish line here. All right, let's get this started. Today we are going to be talking about exponents, what they are, how you can write them, and how you can compute them. Okay, so that leads us into our essential question, which is, how can I write and compute expressions with powers? Okay, now as we're going through this at any point in time, please feel free to go ahead and pause this video for any of your note-taking needs. If you have a question, please reach out to me and let me know. I am here to help however I can. Let's get this going. So, first off, we kind of need to go over what is an exponent and what are the different parts of it. Now, an exponent, when we look at this, 3 to the 4th, an exponent is this number up here. Now, an exponent tells us how many of this number, aka our base, we are going to have. So if I have 3 to the 4th, that means that I will have 4 3s. And that's what an exponent tells us. So here we go. Let's actually write that down. So our key vocab here is going to include 2 different words. And our first word is exponent. Now the exponent is the number of times the base appears. So if my base is 3 and my exponent is 4, my base of 3 is going to be there 4 times. Okay, so once again, the exponent is the number of times the base appears. I'm going to highlight the word exponent here. Now, our base is this. The base is a number that will be multiplied by the exponent. So when I have 3 to the 4th, that means I'm going to have my 3 4 times. And instead of going 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, we're actually going to use multiplication. So we'd go 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And I'm going to highlight the word base here. Okay. And again, that leads us to, if I have 3 to the 4th, that is going to equal 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now, when we are taking a look at our exponents, we have a couple of ways in which we can write them. And we have 2 different forms. And the first form that we are going to be taking a look at is called expanded form. Now, expanded form is when the base is written out a certain amount of times and is determined by the exponent. So here, I've got 4 to the 5th. My expanded form is my 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. This is my expanded form. And again, it's when the base is written out a certain amount of times and determined by the exponent. So expanded form includes the base multiple times. Now the opposite of expanded form is exponent form. An exponent form is when it's nice and simple, and instead of it being written out many a times, we have it looking like this, where we have an exponent. So exponent form is when the base has been simplified and now includes an exponent. So I have 1, 2, 3 6s here. So that means I'm going to have my 6 as my base because it's the repeating number. And I'm going to put a 3 up top because I have 3 of them there. So our exponent form is when the base has been simplified and now includes an exponent. So this is the form we want to see. So what we're going to be doing now is taking a look at some practice. Now, in addition to writing things in exponent form and expanded form, you are also going to need to tell me whether an outcome of a group of numbers is going to be positive or negative. Okay? So, here I'd have 8 to the 5th as my first example. Well, my 8 is positive, and I don't have any negative numbers when I write this out. So that means that altogether, A of 8 to the 5th would be positive. Okay? Now here, I have negative 9 to the 4th. Now this is where that negative tic-tac-toe is going to come into play. I have negative 9 in parentheses, so I need to keep it in that grouping of parentheses. So I'm going to go negative 9, and negative 9, and negative 9, and negative 9. So a negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a negative is a positive. A positive times a positive, that's going to lead us with another positive. So our answer here would be positive. And now over here, I have negative 6 to the 3rd. Now this negative 6 is more like a negative and then a 6 following it. It's like a negative times 6 and 6 and 6. Because I have 3 6s here. So I have negative times a positive, which is a negative. I have a positive times a positive, which is a positive. And now I have a negative times a positive, which would lead us with a negative. So our answer is negative. Okay. Now, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to go back and re-watch this. Reach out to me. I am here to help any way I can. Okay? All right. Now, our final set of example problems today are here. All right? So, for this grouping, it says write the numerical expressions as a power. So, we want this to be a base to the power. That's what we want it to look like. So, taking a look at A, I have 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Now, all of those 5s are in parentheses, so I'm going to keep my 5 in parentheses. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, so I'm going to put a 4 up top. So my answer would be 5 in parentheses to the 4th power. Now finally, B. I want you guys to tackle B. What do you think our answer would be? All right, so here you're correct in that our base is 7, and my exponent would be 6 because there are 6 7s here. Now the final type of problems you'll be looking at today is finding not only the value, which means the answer, but you'll also be writing them in expanded form. So remember, expanded form is a number times a number times a number times a number. Okay? So we're going to be using that and finding out what the value of it is. So here we have 8. 8 squared. Now 8 squared does not mean 8 times 2. 8 times 2, that's a no-no. That doesn't work. What this 2 means is that I have 8 2 times. So I'm going to have 8 times 8 And that is going to give me an answer of 64, and that gives us a smiley face. All right. B. B is -1 in parentheses to the 5th. So I'm going to go -1 in parentheses times -1 in parentheses times -1 in parentheses times -1 in parentheses times -1 in parentheses. Phew. All right, so now I know that 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is just going to give me 1. But what I need to do is find the value of this. So I need to figure out if this is going to be a positive or negative. A negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a negative is a positive, and then we have one more negative. So now I have a negative and a positive, which is a positive, times this final negative here, which is ultimately going to give us a negative. So our final answer is -1. Now, because I ran out of room here, I'm going to move this down just a little bit, okay? So our final problem that we have here is -4 to the 4th. All right. So we're going to separate out that negative and the 4, just like we did in our previous problems. Because here, the 4 is not included in the parentheses, so it's like that third wheel. It just hangs around until the last minute, okay? And then now, we're going to go times 4, times 4, times 4, times 4, because we have 4 fours. So now we get to do a little bit of math. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 4 is 16. And then now we get to go 16 times 16. Well, if I did my math over on the side, 16 times 16 is going to give me 30, or in this case, 16 times 6 is going to give me 36. So I'm going to bring down the 6, carry the 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. I'm going to cross out my 6 on the bottom here. Now I'm going to put a 0 below the 96. And now I get to go 1 times 6, which is 6. I'm going to cross out my 3, and I get to go 1 times 1, which is 1. Now I'm going to add these numbers together. I'm going to get 6. I'm going to get 15. I bring down the 5, carry the 1. 1 times 1 plus 1 here would be 2. So our answer is 256. Now, we have this negative. That's going to go ahead and come on down. So here, -4 to the 4th is going to give us -256. All right, now, within this assignment, or the assignment for this, is out of your textbook, and you'll find the copies of your textbook pages for this particular assignment online in Canvas. I've just simply copied this one page for you, and it's only available to those in my class. And that includes this page here, okay? For this assignment, you are doing numbers 2 to 23, okay? Numbers, and that's all. You may do 24 to 26 as extra credit. Okay, but that's just 24 to 26 is extra credit. Now this assignment will be due by the end of class today, the day you're watching this, which would be November 19th. All right, we're going to go through some of this together, and if you have any questions at all, please reach out. And as always, thank you very much for watching. This has been Mrs. Ross Does Math.